V94.9 WATV, and the V stands for right. Yes, sir. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Oh, it's 7 o'clock already? I hope y'all ready, man. Trendsetters, ain't nobody did it like we did it before we did it. You know what I'm talking about? Get to it, though. Hey, let me reintroduce the mobile and lady that lives in the truth. The reason ratings about to go through the roof is later, but when we back, baby, get out, but ain't never gonna stop. This is the show we've been rocking since the school of hip hop. Keep it locked, cause every show is full of vital information. No dragging down the bus, she keep on fire conversation, no doubt. She guaranteed to show up and show out, showing different angles of life. That's what the show about. You know we finna go up, touching on the topics you need to know about. And plus, we need to hear from the city, so pull your phones out. The line's open, not to mention the whole goal is to keep your mind open. I ain't top of line in your blind moment. It's that moment we all been waiting on. Rejuvenated, rebooted, hoping it take too long. Award winning, I think it's time that we make it known. Ain't nobody rocking like we rocking on the radio, so I highly suggest that you don't touch that dial. A local legend, but we about to take the show worldwide. Real rap, all you gotta do is relax and kick back, cause Lady Boo gon' break you out, kick that. You know this big fast me, they call me savage and I've been at it a minute too. I'm guaranteed to show naked ass like I was winning. Boo, here we go, no question about it. We in the door, so you can turn up the volume and enjoy the show. Savage. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show, V94.9 WATV. I am Lady Woo. I got my people with me. Gentlemen, introduce yourselves, please.
What's going on? It's your boy, Ready Eddie.
What's going on, BIRMINGHAM? It's your boy, J Hat.
All right. And we have special guests in studio. What's happening? There we go. I was going to say, what's going on with my mic? That was crazy. Y'all, big show tonight. A lot to talk about. So many different things. So that's why we went with the name tonight. Birmingham, the good, the bad, and the ugly. We will talk about all of them tonight. Over our 2 hours, we're here till 9 o'clock. The phone number for you to chime in and be a part of the conversation, 205-994-8949, 205-994-8949. You can also comment on any of the streams that you're on. We're on YouTube right now. We are on the B949 Facebook page. We are on my personal page. We are on
J Hat's page.
J Hat's page. And then it's like another page. We are everywhere. So wherever you are, let us know that you are there so that we can be sure to check your comments, because we see comments after the show from other places. Don't even know how y'all got there. Where are you and how'd you get there?
Yes.
So be sure to let us know where you're tuned in. You can call us and let us know, hey, Woo, I'm over here on this page, and we'll come holler at you too. All right, in studio tonight, let's get straight to it. We have special guest, a friend of ours, a friend of the community, Attorney Emery Anthony. How are you today?
I am doing great. It's great to be here with you,
Indeed.
Lady Woo.
Yes, sir.
I want to say that. It's good to be here. And of course, I want to send my sympathy to the individuals that lost their lives last night in the event that took place on the South Side. Also want to send my sympathy to those individuals that were caught in the crossfire, were able to survive, and the prayers are going out to them.
Yes. And we're going to talk about that for the whole second half of the show.
Sure.
So much is going on. So we want to make sure, though, that in the midst of all of the things that we touch on, the things that are positive, the things that give us hope.
Right.
And we know that voting is so important. It's coming up, and everything that we're impacted by is political.
That's true.
Right?
And I try to tell everybody from the day you were born, the law set out what you can do, what age you have to go to daycare, what age you have to go to elementary school, how long you have to stay in school,
right?
The license to do whatever you want to do.
Yes.
The political aspect is there.
Yeah, I don't do politics.
I despise when I hear that, because all of us are involved in this political situation. It's making the choice to become involved. I think that's more important than anything, and understanding why you should be involved and why you should want to be involved. And that's why I'm here tonight. I want to share some thought with the listening audience and let them know that how important it is to understand about the right to vote and
the right alone.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So you're here tonight
in the capacity of a member of the Jefferson County Progressive Democratic Council.
That's correct.
And there are so many groups pushing this cause and fighting for the right and making sure that we understand our right to vote. Right. So give me a little bit about the Jefferson County Progressive Democratic Council, what that is.
Right. Thank you. We're the oldest Black political organization in the state of Alabama.
Okay.
Arthur Shores, David Hood, some of those individuals started this organization many, many years ago when we were fighting for that right to vote. And so many times you hear the history or read the history of why, how we were denied the opportunity to vote, how we had to fight for that opportunity to vote, and how now I think we're taking for granted the voting and going out to vote. So the Jefferson County Progressive Democratic Council saw the need in the Black community to make sure we organized and educated the Black community on how to vote, how to register to vote, and why you should vote. And we're still doing that.
Awesome. So this work, the oldest Black organization, and I know a lot of times our work, the work that we do on a daily basis is in our community, and we're hearing these different things about young Black people.
Yes.
And that I guess I don't know. I can't say that it's misinformation or just lack of education. I don't know what it is. What are you saying?
Well, I have 2 young daughters, and they tell me to be very careful how I deal with that age group.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to do anything to turn anyone off. I think it's very important that the age group from 18 to 45 understand their responsibility in voting. I have always said that if any given day, on a Tuesday, if that group were to go to vote in a mass turnout, they would change the entire political spectrum.
I mean, 18 to 45.
18 to 45. Because so many times young people get, well, it's raining. I'm not going. I don't see my candidate that is going to do something for me. And I understand that. And I also understand that you have to educate yourself about why you should vote. And you should understand the history of Black Americans that were denied the opportunity to vote, and how we had the only race had to fight to get that right to vote.
The poll taxes.
Yes.
What are some other things?
They would, when you would go up to take a exam.
Like I got to take a whole test to vote.
And they would come up with crazy questions. How many marbles in this particular bowl or something? I mean, things to deny you that right to vote. And I think it's important for all of us, because sometimes even older people, we get kind of lack on voting. We say, well, it's not going to make a difference, but it will make a difference. Absolutely. When you fail to vote, because you're making the decision by not going to the polls. By not going, you're saying, I'm not going to make a decision. I'm not going to exercise my rights. And I think about it in so many ways. If they start taking away our right to drive, our right to do certain things because we didn't vote, I think people will be more involved. But hopefully we won't have to get there in order to get their attention.
It don't sound that bad to me. I mean, these are the things that you want. Right. These are the things that you need. And these are the things that are impacted by your vote.
Right. And every voting is local. Like Jefferson County, come November the 5th, we will have several individuals on the ticket that will be running for office in this particular area. And we need to participate to make sure we get the best individuals. As I say so many times, sometimes you may not have your candidate on there that you want.
Right.
But you have to choose between the lesser of the evils who you want to deal with.
Okay. So we know we made it through the primaries. We made it through the runoffs, and the general election is November 5th. Voter registration deadline is October 21st.
Right. And absentee balloting, you can do it up to the last Thursday before the Tuesday to go vote.
Okay.
That's the last time you can send your ballot in, or go down. You can go down to the courthouse right now and take your ID and do absentee ballot.
Okay.
Vote right now.
So that's not a process that you have to do anything extra for. You can actually just go ahead and get it done now.
Right.
With your ID.
You have to give a reason
for
you not being able to vote on November the 5th. Those are individuals that are 65 years in age or older. They can do it automatically because of their age.
Okay.
But if you're not going to be, you're going to be out of town, you're going to be doing something, you have to check a box for the reason that you're doing an absentee ballot.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Is there anything in particular that the Jefferson County Progressive Democratic Council is pushing for this election?
Well, of course, we're asking everybody to consider to vote. We recommend the straight Democratic ticket. We're supporting everyone that is on the Democratic ballot. We think it's important. We have looked at the candidates and made a decision. And of course, starting with the national, and so many times people say, well, why are you choosing Vice President Harris over Donald Trump? You know, I don't want to get into a political debate, but I don't think it's really a choice. I think voting for.
I mean,
I don't want to get into a debate about it, but we're pushing the straight Democratic ticket.
Okay.
And asking everybody to go and vote for the straight Democratic ticket.
Okay. Do y'all have somewhere where people can look at it or see it in advance?
Right. Jefferson County Progressive Democratic Council.com. You can go there. And then we're going to put out some other fillers about why you should vote the straight Democratic ticket. And we're going to try to line it up and make sure that people are registered. We're trying to register as many people as possible. Those are 18, that turning 18. It will be 18 by the election time. We're trying to make sure that they go get registered and vote also.
Yes, so important. So important to be a part of the process and to understand those who decided to put an organization like this one together, the oldest in the state. And some of the names that you named are some, I mean.
Right. I mean, when you think about Arthur Shores, he was the first Black real lawyer in the state of Alabama.
Real lawyer
in the state of Alabama, because we had individuals that were sent off. If you know the history about lawyers in Alabama, we could not go to the University of Alabama. University of Alabama at that time, it was diploma privilege. Once you finish, you automatically was a lawyer back in the day. And the state would pay for Blacks to go out of state and get a law degree. But when they came back, they would have to take a test in order to be lawyers, where people from the University of Alabama were automatically lawyers. Wow. Yeah. It is wild.
Did y'all know that?
Yeah, I did.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's wild. It's wild. As of 1974, and this is where Miles Law School started, we only had 40 Black lawyers in the state of Alabama.
Wow. In the whole state?
The entire state of Alabama, we only had 40 lawyers.
Now you got about 450 in the city.
Well, we still can use some good lawyers.
Yeah.
Good Black lawyers, because out here it's very important to have people that understand the law, that is willing to represent individuals, because all of us need, like doctors, we need a good lawyer.
Absolutely. I totally agree.
Yes.
Okay. See, so you learn so much when we reach back and reach forward, we learn. So we're learning throughout this process. We talk about just voting, just the act, just, exercising that right, but the history that comes behind it. Some of the names
really the history. I don't want to focus on the Jefferson County Progressive Democratic Council. I want people to focus on being denied the right to vote, to understand.
Yes.
And then really, if you hadn't voted within 5 years, they're expunging your name off the voters list. So that's important also to understand. The lack of voting can take your name off the voters list.
All right. A lot of information. We want to have you back closer to the election.
I would love to come back and talk with you all. I appreciate this opportunity just to share the thought with your listening audience. And I know you have a very large listening audience, for them to understand that November the 5th is important for all of us to go vote, make sure we take our entire family.
Yes.
And as I say, do the right thing.
Do the right thing. The Jefferson County Progressive Democratic Council pushing the straight Democratic ticket.
Yes.
And making history, teaching and making history. What you got, Hat?
I wanted to ask, can you shout out the date for 18-year-olds or approaching 18-year-olds that can vote in this election?
They
can
can
share that. Yes. Can you share that out?
Right. They can vote if, like right now, if you're 17, if you're going to turn 18 before the Thursday, the last registration date that she gave us, then you have to register to vote, and you can vote in November.
Gotcha.
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We look to
and
see
you all
again.
have a great show.
Thank
Lady
you.
Woo, and thank you for having me.
Indeed. Thank you.
Yes.
So just a quick push. Hey, Jenny. Jenny said, let's go vote. So just a quick push. We'll be hearing from Attorney Anthony a little bit more throughout the process, and others who are working with these different organizations to get you all inspired and to get the word out to other voters. There are some other great things happening in the city. And I was scrolling, Eddie, and I saw locally where we had some people in different on different platforms doing things that some of it we do, like some mental health stuff, some housing stuff. I mean, I've seen a lot of great things happening. And one of those things that I saw was Pastor Doug Taylor, who is making his way into the studio now. His church made some big moves. I was like, I was scrolling. Look at him. I was scrolling and I saw it. I was like, I saw some type of big congratulations. I don't really know what it was that I saw. So bring me up to speed on what I saw. And once he did, I was like, yeah, come on. Come chat with us Sunday. So welcome to the show.
What's up?
Pastor Doug Taylor, Rebirth.
I can officially go to heaven now.
You
to the vital show.
Cause what
I'm
did
official.
Yeah, you are official. So you said this a while ago, like I got to get to the show, and you've been doing things all along to get you to the show. We've just had some scheduling conflicts or something. I'm gonna put it on that.
That's right.
I'm gonna put it on that.
Perfect time. This is a perfect time.
Yeah, because some amazing things have happened.
Yeah, we got some cool things going on.
Okay, so first of all, tell us who you are. Tell us about your church.
Doug Taylor, Rebirth Christian Fellowship, the church that will change your life.
Okay, I'm glad that it's doing that because we need churches that change lives.
Yeah,
so we need them to do.
Yeah, that's what we're doing.
So I visited over there, and it gave me a little spark, gave me a little excitement.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I started seeing the different ministries and the different work that was happening. I know that's a big part of what church is supposed to do.
Sure. Yeah.
So give us some of the ministries and some of the work that's being done.
So we got some pretty cool stuff going on. I'm proud to say our church has mental health and emotional wellness ministry.
A whole ministry.
Whole ministry. Yeah. I think right now we have about 18 individuals that have been certified to do first aid mental health. So they had a training yesterday with about 5 more people. So that's cool. It has been to share with us a couple of times. We did our men's conference a couple months ago, and we had the preaching stuff. We had church, but we had sessions on men and their money, help get their finances together, men in their emotions. Eddie did a killer job, and so we do a lot of food. And one thing I think is dope. We believe in 3 things at our church: help people grow in their faith, their families, and their finances.
Yes.
And so we're going to work on faith on Sunday. I believe that every person at some point is going to come into contact with an issue that only the power of God can solve. Then when it comes to your family, if your family's not whole, if your family's not at peace, it doesn't matter what you do outside. When you come home, it's supposed to be a refuge.
Man.
So when the devil can't fight you, he'll fight your family. So we want to help people make sure that, we're offering resources to help families grow together. But then as far as finances, I believe when people in financial destitute, they'll do dumb things.
Oh, yeah.
And so one cool thing is we do a lot of financial classes. We have a site camp. We have a site license for Dave Ramsey, Financial Reach University. And we pay anybody in the city, anybody anywhere in the world, can take it absolutely free.
Okay,
and
awesome.
To date, we've been doing it 2 years. They've paid off over $250,000 worth of debt, saved close to $100,000, cut up like 95 credit cards. It's been crazy. Yeah, it's pretty dope.
That is pretty dope. I give them some claps right there. So people that aren't members can still benefit from these different ministries and missions.
All of these.
Okay.
A couple years, like 7 years ago, I was praying about transition of my church. And honestly, church was church. Like we're gonna come in, we're gonna sing, we're gonna raise offering, people gonna get saved, and all that is absolutely critical. But I was missing someone on the inside, and through time of prayer and seeking God, the Lord told me, He said, stop praying for a vision for your church and pray for a vision for your community. And everything about it started pivoting away from just having a dope Sunday, but what does our Monday through Saturday look like that is transforming the lives of people? So I'm like, our church is going to be a garden of Eden. We plan it right here, and we're going to subdue, dominate, expand, so we can improve, enhance, and impact everything around us. And we just keep progressing. So that's what we're doing. So the whole safe house thing that you and I talked about was actually birthed out of that.
Okay.
So I grew up in a home with domestic violence. So I saw it firsthand. I know the trauma that it produced. It messed all of my family up. We're still navigating through that now.
Okay.
But middle of COVID, we're taping, doing work at church, recording our service. And I come in the parking lot, and there's a car in the parking lot. I'm like, okay, it's like 7, 8 o'clock. We just think people chilling out, dating, kissing, whatever.
Right.
Next night I come out, same car, same spot, under the light pole. So I'm like, you okay? Yeah, I'm okay. Third night, same car. I'm like, hey, listen, is anything going on? Young lady tells me, she says, she's from out of state. She married a gentleman that lived here in Birmingham, only his family, none of her own family. Turns out that he was abusive, and she left home for her safety, but she was an educator, didn't get paid to the end of the month, so she wasn't going to have a deposit for an apartment. So I was like, hey, let me get you some groceries, give you a hotel. No, I'm cool. Well, fourth night, same thing. Fifth night, that pride broke off. Can I give you some groceries? I'll take some groceries tonight. So put her in the hotel for about a week, got her some groceries, and we're glad we'll do it, but it haunted me that what could we do? It would have been so much better if I said, follow Deacon Johnson.
Yeah, we'll put you over here.
Yeah. It's already got groceries, already got power. Just go in there and be safe. So our church rallied behind it, and we started a project called Safe Houses. And through the midst of it, we're providing homes we bought our first house, I guess about a year and a half ago, renovated it, ribbon cutting was for it. And so we're providing houses for victims of domestic violence, emergency housing, victims of domestic violence, affordable homes for people who want to purchase long-term housing for individuals that want somewhere safe, clean. Because, I do real estate. It's incredible some of the properties I bought. And when I look and see the condition that they're letting their tenants live in, I'm like, it's deplorable. So there's a concept of human dignity that says every person is created in the image of God. And because they're created in the image of God, every person deserves the same rights, privileges, benefits of every other individual in the world.
Sure.
And so I don't have to decide if I got hot water or cold water. Nobody else should either. So if I can do anything to affect that, that's what I'm on. So that's what we're doing. I know I'm talking a lot, but
that's what you're here for. Right. That's what you're here for. And we appreciate it. Everything that has been said from your personal experiences all the way to how that gave you the perspective.
Yeah.
So a lot of times we'll be impacted by things and not know what to do with our experiences. Right.
Sure.
And then you have people that are following you into something that makes sense. So that says a lot about the congregation and their faith in you and in the project that you all are taking on. That's a big undertaking.
Yeah, we're grateful. Organization heard about the work we're doing, Kids to Love, in Madison, Alabama, found out about our commitment and was introduced to, and they donated to us 56 lots in the city of Birmingham off Highway 79 that we can start developing next year to expand this work. So
56 lots.
We're going to do a community garden. Already working on a community garden now. Mental health, emotional wellness center, workforce development, housing. It's gonna be stupid.
That's what the church is supposed to do. So you hear about all of these different, you hear about things. We've heard about things for years that churches are doing, just like we gonna scratch the surface a little bit. We may do a meal, we may do we may do something, we're gonna do a little something, but that's major work. And I think as we dig into the topic tonight, there's gonna kind of be a piece of where I go with it. The role of the church in what's happening in society. Where's the space? Like who are the void fillers? And so we hear that Rebirth Church is doing that. You're filling some voids.
Well, we're trying.
Yeah, I mean, that's more than trying. You got 56 lots on the way. You already got one that got the ribbon cut.
Yeah.
So that's more than trying. That is actually doing. And I think that's the biggest piece of all of this is to do. So Eddie, you've been over there. What you think?
Listen.
Because you've been in church all your life. First of all, he don't be liking to go to nobody church.
Really?
No, he's been traumatized.
I got church trauma.
Share your story.
My mama, after dealing with a drug dealer for all them years, took us to church 6 days a week to recover. And so that creates some sort of an imbalance as it pertains to how you recover from that,
right?
And refine spirituality. But it creates this very hyper awareness of how the leaders of the church exist.
Yes.
Right. And and my mama was what I call a church nomad. So it was like we go to this church for 2 years. She'd be the minister of music. She go to this church for 2 years. So we talking about 10 churches deep across my childhood, not to mention going to these different prophetesses and all of these different places. And it's like there is some disingenuous leadership. There is some leadership who are in the midst of their own personal struggles while being leaders. And I'm saying all of that to speak on the the genuine and refreshing nature of Pastor Taylor being in that space and inviting the mental health voice and being so involved in the progress of the men in the church that he brings mental health therapists there. The last event we had, just it's a response that you gave about it represented you knowing the range of where a pastor helps the congregation tend to spirituality, and where at some point that line goes over to where mental health begins
and
to
you
be
have to
something
know.
that a person needs. And that is absolutely refreshing to experience. And I mean, I have never experienced a pastor that is this progressive as it pertains to mental health. So and then being in the church with the men and feeling the energy that they give. This ain't just we came here for this one time and we giving you, we just playing nice. It's like there is a culture of we value this.
Oh yeah.
I want to talk to Eddie. I'm gonna reach out to Eddie for mental health services. This it's a community and it feels like it. So regardless of like what my struggles have been, being at Rebirth is a place that I like being. Like it feels good to be there, even among all the struggles that I've, gone through in my church journey.
I love to hear it.
So I just got to shout Pastor Taylor out for that,
appreciate
man. It just feels
everything.
good.
No doubt. I'll see you Sunday.
That's what,
Yeah.
and that's how you do that. Like,
That's how you do it. That's how you do it. That's
so,
what I got.
so from another pastor, like my other co-host is a pastor.
Oh, he the news.
I know, you guys.
He
Don't
the
do
news.
it like
So, so hearing this, right? Like we're all in this together.
Yep.
And you out there, you over here.
Right.
I be downtown with my dad. Like we're all in these different places doing this different work. But what does that make you feel like to hear that they're doing that type of work?
Oh, I already know he's doing it because Doug is one of those people that reaches out to young pastors like myself.
Okay.
Did so during COVID, and offers tutelage, training. The model of some of my ministry is from him.
Oh, that's what's up.
So
Humbling.
the last 4 months, I've offered a safe space. That's what we call it,
Told me.
where Dr. Griffin, who is a licensed therapist, comes and talks to our youth and the parents, right? Because I worked in that capacity in mental health for about 7 years. So I'm very familiar with you can't get the physical right when the mental's bad.
Sure.
And the spiritual takes care of all of that. So Doug is doing the work, and this is what the new work looks like. It's really old work, but it's in new laces.
Yeah.
And so the younger generation needs to see this type work before they would join churches. And a lot of us from the old school are scared to branch out into that stream because we're stuck in this box. But most of Jesus' teachings were in the streets, right? And so the synagogue can be a place, as my brother said, it could be a draining place if that's all I do is synagogue, but it should be synagogue and streets. And Doug is the epitome of what pastoring in the 21st century looks like.
I love to hear it.
Oh, bro, I'm grateful.
All
I
right.
appreciate you.
Now,
Love what you're doing.
that's definitely what you want to hear when it comes to everything that's happening in the world and filling those voids. So I'm kind of thinking about something you said. I'm going to save that part of it. But if people are in need of any of these resources, how can they reach you all?
So we're doing the Safe House project through our 501c3 Rebirth Community Corporation. So if anybody wants information on the safe houses or any other programs they do for reentry services for ex-offenders, as well as business coaching for entrepreneurs, helping start or scale a business, those are three things we do. They can go to our website, rebirthcc.org.
rebirthcc.org, and it's posted if you're streaming, and if you're listening, rebirthcc.org. I'm being led to say this.
Say it.
So because there are so many churches everywhere and so many different places and so many people committed to everything that they're committed to the people, to the pastors, to the places, because my granddaddy was the pastor, my uncle them came here first, all that, it's all of that stuff going on. How are you all navigating that space in today's society? I know we mentioned COVID. COVID has come up in both conversations because the world changed during COVID, and I think church drastically changed because of COVID. These are great things that you're doing, and somebody may be listening and saying, well, yeah, I want to be a part of that, but I don't want to leave where I am, or I don't want to join somewhere, all of those different things. How do you all navigate that?
Well, be you.
Okay.
Right. the authentic you, God can use you in your ministry to reach a particular target. And so each pastor needs to know his strengths and weaknesses. Each pastor needs to know the vision that God gave him. Don't duplicate somebody else's. Be you and embrace your ministry for your community. And so what he's doing may not apply to what my North Pratt context looks like, right? But what I'm doing can definitely not benefit his context. But one thing is for sure, we're doing what we're supposed to do in that particular context, right? And so post-COVID, the world changed. I don't think people realize that the world is not going back to before 2020. And so you can't do church like you did it in 2019.
What? Okay.
I'm not even going to go far as to the 1990s. Church is different now, and we have to embrace the different and be progressive, but also we keep it biblical, but we be progressive, implementing, like me, the civic engagement ministry, which is a way for us to tackle the political sphere without being in the pulpit because we're limited by certain state laws, right? But being able to engage the people in the community in that capacity, because again, it's about what the next generation wants to hear. And so these events and these programs through community partnership is another area that I think churches need to tap into. And that's something I learned from him. So there are 4 churches on this side that I partner with: Carlos Brooks at St. John, George Robinson at First Baptist East Thomas, and our church, and William Brad Cummings down at Mount Hebron down in Thomas. So we partner and we do what we can in our communities on that same platform is trying to reach your street, right? Just reach your street, and your street will reach the next street. So
that's the hope. And like that, them streets right there gonna get us to the rest of these streets that we finna be talking about. Pastor Doug.
I think a couple things in there. I agree 1000%. One of the things I hate is when people look at a church and see what a church or ministry is doing, and they make comments like that's real ministry. Well, I think that's insulting because every pastor does not have the same partners. I have partners in my church that specialize in mental health. So we started mental health ministry not because I knew what to do, but I had partners that one of our core values at our church is emotional health is spiritual wealth. Well, I had mental health professionals come and say, we need to do something with this. They built that. I just had the vision. They built that. Well, if they're not mental health professionals at the next guy's church, he can't start one.
Yeah.
Then I have to look at my partners. I got to look at my passion. What am I passionate about? I'm passionate about entrepreneurship. I've been an entrepreneur for 4 decades. So we breed entrepreneurs at our church. It's natural for us. But I think what happens is when people start comparing churches and say, this is what the church should be doing, every pastor, every congregation does not have the passion or the partners or the proficiency to do everything. And as you said, do what you do, and maximize that. And I think that it puts us in competition. And, I know people talk about church and say this church did this and this church did that. I think there's a concept of relativity. So if my church raises $100 and I give away $10 in food, and his church raises $1,000 and give away $100 in food, pound for pound, we both gave away 10%.
Okay.
So it's just 10%. It's the same 10%. His 10% is more. So stop defecating on my dime because I don't have his budget. I'm still doing the same 10%.
Wow. Don't defecate on my dime. Who you think you is? Apple or something?
That's what I do.
Okay, now. All right, 994-8949 is the number. I see some comments. See one of your members in here. Let's see who this is. This is Megan. Uplifted on Facebook. Yeah. She said, Rebirth Christian Fellowship is my church for 14 years. I love that place.
Yep. She actually lives in South Carolina. She was at church today.
Okay. Let me shout out some other people that are viewing and listening as well. We got George Lied II, Mary Ann Davis Thomas, hello to you, Cedric Robbins, Joyce Long, Irvin Wilson, Dr. Patton. Hey there to you. Who else I see? Martini Kennedy. Hello. Ashley Stevenson. Hey, y'all. Hey, everybody. So keep listening, keep sharing. Post your thoughts and your feelings about all that you've heard. If you heard anything that you know you can benefit from or give into, rebirthcc.org is how you can do that. Pastor Doug Taylor is in with us right now. I don't want to take a break yet, so we're going to keep talking. Okay. So, the ways of the world right now.
Mhm.
So, I saw a sign that said, Dear Jesus. I think it said, hurry back. And it's at a church on Crestwood Boulevard over to the right, coming back downtown. I see it. I take a picture of it all the time. I'm like, yeah, for real. Like, what would that look like if you came back? If y'all just start hearing these trumpets sounding right now
Mhm.
and the sky's cracking open and all of this is happening right now, what would that look like? But it talked about Revelation 20 and 20, verse 22. I ain't even looked it up yet, but I was just like, I really want to see what that is because the way we are right now, it really is scary. Like
Mhm.
when you really look at things for what they are, if your faith isn't strong, if you're not stable and emotionally balanced and well educated spiritually, you probably are really struggling right now with what is happening, the way that people are, the way that people treat each other, the way that politics, it's just so much.
Mhm.
So what is the role of the church in everything that's happening now? Or is there room for the church to be a leader in with like where y'all even fall in that?
Mhm.
Where you fall in that? That's
That's
I
loaded.
think it goes back to kind of the golden thread through this of finding what is our particular place.
what is our
Place
place?
is to give a biblical
Mhm.
response to the issues that are facing our community, our generation.
Okay.
We're not politicians.
Mm-hmm.
We're not lawmakers. And so if you gauge a church's effectiveness on how many policies they make, they'll always fail. If you judge a frog on his ability to fly, he'll always fail. And so what has happened is it is not the job of the church or the ability of the church to dictate laws or lock people up. What we can do is, even though they need to be locked up, if they doing crazy stuff, even though laws have to be made. But I think what this is it's a culmination of every organization, every institution doing their part. Just like the church is saying, I can't make laws, but we can do voter registration. So we can come, and I think that's the thing of knowing when the church is the leader, when the church is the support. When it comes to spiritual matters, we the leader. But when it comes to emotional wellness, we the support.
Do we not think that right now these are spiritual matters?
1,000%.
Like top tier spiritual matters and then everything else.
Absolutely. And so we pray for the city and, and we host as many gatherings as we can. But we also understand that it takes a city, it takes a sheriff, it takes everybody to come alongside. And so we may create a space, physical space. We create some prayer. We create some awareness, shout it from our pulpits, but every organization has to do their part because these are definitely spiritual matters.
These are spiritual matters. Okay.
I like that comment.
Those are comments.
Miss Sister Bean put up, and that's probably the greatest opportunity area.
Okay. The church leaders can also go to Montgomery and lobby.
Yeah.
Okay.
The advocacy
Absolutely.
of, and see, I stand kind of in the middle, not so much on the other side with you, brother. This is the vantage point. When you really look at the revelation, the resurrection, and you look up the Hebrew meaning to that word, it's the movement. It's movement, right? And so most movements have started from a spiritual foundation, right? The movement that got us to the place we are now started in the Black church, housed in the Black church, promoted by the Black church.
Okay.
Fundamental to our people is the inspiration, the empowerment, and the message of hope, right? And so what I see today is a loss of hope. I see a despair. And yes, we support, but I believe that the spiritual is just primary and everything else is birthed out of that, right? So not a disagreement, but I see I guess, and that's my political lens, right? Because that's what I do. I see a different road that we can take to meet in the middle a lot more than what we're doing, to be more advocate, to be better advocates for certain things. Because again, our parishioners that come see us on a Sunday or come to church that we see on a Sunday most of them don't live in the community that we churching, right? So they're going to go back into an area, and they're going to have to be the light and the salt to an area and impact their communities, right? But what are the issues?
That's the mission, right?
Yeah, what are the issues? And I think we're so everywhere, and we don't have a laser focus on an issue like back then. There was a laser focus on a issue. What policy do we want to see change? Now we're able to hold our elected officials' feet to the fire on that policy. And if you don't meet the goal, we'll get somebody else that can meet our policy. And that a lot of times is birthed out of our churches, right? Somebody pastors everybody who's now sitting on the seat. And so I think we have a bigger impact than we sometimes really know.
Yeah.
In that area.
I see a comment right here. We need more fathers in the home to make a complete family home. Yeah. That would be great. Black fatherhood matters. Yes, it does. I see Jesus as an advocate. I agree.
Yes.
Now, there are certain, then I want to read this one right here. The church can't do it alone. The mayor can't do it alone. The police can't do it alone. We as the people, as a community, have to do our part too. So the bigger question is, what does that look like? What is that? And that is the question for the rest of the show. What is the issue? Is meaning that one. What is the, in all caps, issue? There are so many issues, but what's the one that everybody can come together on and actually figure it out? Like, you break it down, you're responsible for this part of the issue, you're responsible for this part of the issue, you're responsible for this part of the issue. So, having to identify what the issue is. What is it? What is the issue? Let me do this right quick. You're listening to B94.9 WATV. The show, the Abby Award-winning show, aka Vital, is on right now. I'm seeing your comments coming in. We have special guests in studio. You gonna hang with us?
Yeah.
You gonna hang? You got someone else?
No, my curfew. I got a late curfew.
Okay, cool. Pastor Doug Taylor, Rebirth Christian Church. He came in to talk about all the great things that they're doing, but like I said, everything folds into everything. It's all enmeshed. Everything is very much packaged together, and we have to figure out what to pull out to give to who's responsible for these different parts. And once you are deemed responsible, are you capable in making progress in your area that you have either chosen or that you've been given? More comments. Hopelessness is the issue. Hey, Calandra, hopelessness is the issue. Had Thomas said he did a live today, and he said that was the live. What are we going to do, Birmingham? Page, we need to start reporting those we know are terrorizing the community. That's a big start right there. I want to see. Let me start that one right quick. Okay. Let's see right here. We have one is there are no you on my notebook. There are no consequences for the teens. They have nothing to fear. And then we have another comment here. That's the only way to break the cycle. So 994-8949 is the number for you to be a part of the conversation. Of course, you can always post them in the comments. And I already told you all at the beginning of the show, we know that you're watching from various streams. And sometimes we don't see them until Tuesday. So
call in.
Yeah, you got to call in. 994-8949, 205-994-8949 is the number. In this first hour, we still have about 15 minutes. And that is going to take all the time that we have to really break this thing down. So somebody, the comment that I starred said that we need to start reporting those that we know are terrorizing the community. All right. Then let's go back to the beginning of all of this. Why are we talking about this again this weekend? Because we talk about it every weekend. Something happens every week where there's loss of life due to ridiculousness in the streets of the city. 604 Lounge, there was a shooting Thursday that killed 35-year-old D. Brown. And I went back. I always go back and look and see how closely am I connected to these people. So I went back. I looked at Messenger. Me and D got a whole thread of conversation about different things. Businesses, SBA loans, people, grief. I mean, we talked about everything. And I'm like, dang, just going out to be social. And she is deceased now due to gun violence. Then Hush Ultra Lounge, Birmingham makes the news for yet another mass shooting. Over 100 rounds sprayed that area. 4 people were killed, several injured. And I wanted to bring it full circle. Back in July, that happened as well in North Birmingham. 4 people were killed, several injured in North Birmingham. So it's not an unfamiliar headline, but this one, every headline, every news network all around the world is reporting Birmingham in this mass shooting where the switchboards and jumped out and sprayed a line of people waiting to get into a venue. That's what we talk about. Everybody's talking about it. So it's what we're talking about. Talking about it from a vital standpoint, solution focused standpoint, but then really addressing the issues. What is the issue? All right. There we go. So that's your intro. Everybody's thinking on it, kind of just playing it back. Like, dang, we do report this a whole lot. We do have this conversation a whole lot. Parents have been crying for help. The police lock them up, and the detention center won't take them if it's not a serious offense. I called personally, and I've experienced that and seen that as well. Like you don't know who to call when things are happening. Okay, we know those that are selling drugs and guns. We know them, but we don't report them. They're our own children, brothers, sisters, neighbors, nieces, whoever. We don't report them. Emotions lead education barriers and not just book sense. Lack of understanding the importance of accountability. Thank you, Kim. And then this one here, and we're going to jump in studio. Also, some of the businesses need to hire proper security. Also put security plans in place to protect their customers and employees. All right. So where do we start, gentlemen?
Well, I'll start the conversation because it didn't just start this week and didn't just start last week, but we kind of missed some stuff in the studio that I think we can now tie in, right? About 2 weeks ago, a young lady drives to Centerpoint, right? To fight. Fight goes south. In the midst of that, she's dead, right? So then we fast forward to this week. Oh, no, the next week, we have a young guy who's 14 years old, shoots up a whole school. And now here we are sandwiched in between another mass shooting. And you can say, okay, the police, you can say the mayor, but here's the thing. This is a complex issue. It's going to take church. It's going to take community. It's going to take family. But let's start right here. Parenting. Some of this is parenting. Not every kid comes from a bad home. And every good kid comes from a great home. But some of this is parenting. And the parents are not holding these children accountable, period. Now, the other thing is, when you look at the data of the people who are doing the shooting, these are not all kids, but they're grown kids, right? So there's a lack of maturity in conflict resolution that needs to be addressed. And so if we go down the rabbit hole of just trying to stream to one group, we miss it. These are not just teens. These are grown people who just hadn't grown up.
That's good.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we're not just looking at teens and children. We are looking at young adults that are immature, frontal lobe ain't developed, or either developed and not nurtured and groomed or whatever. All right. So we're looking at that as an issue, and impulse control and poverty and all of these different things. What is the issue? What do you think the issue is?
It's really hard for me to say what the issue, because as a pastor said, it's just so layered. There's several issues that all come together. If I had to come up with one statement, it's the simple institution of human depravity, that man is flawed. In the garden, when man fell, he became conscious of the knowledge of good and evil, and so there's a tendency, there's a nature, there's a wiring for man to go against morality, go against righteousness, and think human conditions take advantage of that wiring and cause us to do things that are out of sort. Going back to what Pastor said, but I think at every level, somebody should be holding somebody accountable for that and challenging that, because just because it feels right doesn't mean that it is right.
Right.
And so you got this dynamic of, I've been pastoring 23 years, and it's incredible that I've seen young men and women being raised and their parents simply close their eyes. I always said about my kids, I'm never going to love them so much that I'm going to lie to them or lie about them. Scripture says love covers a multitude of sins. Sometimes parents love their kids so much they overlook their sins. You know your son is a line. You know your son got guns. You know you see your son on Facebook throwing up the middle finger and showing guns,
Man.
and you like it or comment. That's the kind of insensitivity
Mhm.
that breeds these issues. And so then when the child gets arrested, I may get in trouble, but don't now you want them we're gonna pray at the altar. We should have been praying when he started these actions.
Mm.
You know, and it hasn't started at home. My dad told me early on, and I was still a knucklehead. He was like, if you get arrested for doing this, don't call me. I ain't coming. And I knew he meant it. You know, when my mother kind of saw stuff that I was doing, she was like, "No, I'm calling police. I'm calling the principal." And they set this standard that is not acceptable in this house. And sometimes we just overlook things because we love our kids and see them going down this rabbit hole and don't cry until it happens to our family.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
Now, you
good.
talked about we're talking about this a lot, and I think that's the issue. It has to continue being talked about because when we stop talking about it, then we stop thinking
It's
about
normal, right? It becomes this is
it.
just
Absolutely. Absolutely. So now
This
we
is what
talk
it
about
is.
enough. We haven't talked about enough until it stops.
I saw a post where somebody said that earlier. Like, so yeah, we're always in a talking stage, and it's like, well, one thing is for sure. From talking sparks inspiration. Like somebody may hear something that gives them the answer.
Mhm.
And if that person can come and present to the rest of us and say, look, we were having that conversation this time, and I remember you said this, and this is what I think we should do. And what if that actually works? What if that actually is the catalyst for some real change that we can see or some real solution? That's why we talk about it. So no, I don't think that the conversation should stop. I don't think that the conversation should be the end of it. I think the conversation is just the beginning, and we should continue to communicate, which is a big part of the issue.
Mhm.
We ain't talking about the right stuff. So therefore, people are angry and retaliate about things that don't make sense and that we don't understand. And we can be the victim of their ignorance because we don't communicate. We don't communicate. You know, we don't speak to people when we see them. We don't know what kind of day they have, and we bump them. We look at them. I could go on and on, but I'm going to let this caller go first, and then I'll come back. Caller, you're in with the show. What you got?
What's going on, Woo? Great conversation as always.
Hey, Dwayne.
Just like really understanding that this thing is like the pastor saying, it's multi-level. It's three consistent levels that have to interact together. It is a thing of what we call law, right? So you have law enforcement, then you have civil, which is the governmental side of it, but then you have the people side of it and the spiritual side of it. And so all of those have to work in together, I believe, to solve it. And everybody have to do their part. One can't blame the other. One can't say I left it on your doorstep. You need to do it. But there needs to be something that's put in place. Once it's put in place, it needs to be done. You know what I'm saying? And saw to it and not looked over because my people fuss about it. My constituents don't want it in their area. It should be something across the board. And then they should do it like they did, when crack became an epidemic of sorts, right? When you went to jail back in the early 90s, late 80s, you got 5 years for a rock, one rock. So now the choice is if you're going to do it, you're going to face the fact that you're going to go down for it. Now, you're going to have something that's still going to want to do it. But if there's a stipulation that's put on these switches, on these illegal guns, and it's mandatory across the board, the only folks you're going to get really doing it is those that accept the penitentiary and those that accept the, playing with the law, but the law has to be enforced and things of that nature. And from there, like you said, then your parents and then the people who see to you need to know that if they do something, there's going to be still penalty, and it ain't going to just be a slapping on the hand or I ain't doing nothing because ain't nobody else doing nothing.
Yeah.
If everybody work together and making it happen, I lived through 2 times the highest murder rate in Louisiana. And when they got it to a point, I ran a club that had the same issues outside of a club. But the way we mandated was, guess what? If you're here for the club, come inside. If you're not coming inside between the bouncers and the police, you're going to jail or you're going to have to leave here.
Yeah.
First mandate. If you're here for the club, come inside. If not, go home or go somewhere else. And the loitering needs to be just what it is. Loitering is what loitering is. It's a law. It's an ordinance. Enforce it. Enforce on every business, not just club, everywhere. You can't hang. You're going to get gas, go get gas. If you're not going to get gas, go where you're going. but no
Gotcha.
sitting, no hanging, no none of that. So I'm gonna give up my time. I know you get late in the hour, but I
We'll
could
be
talk about
back.
this forever.
Yeah, we'll be back. We got a whole nother hour. Keep it locked.
Okay, cool.
All right. So he made some great points right there. And I'm just thinking about, being outside of a venue. I don't do lines because I don't want to be in no line. First of all, like, hey guys, I'm here. Let me in. Here, you know what I'm here for, and it's not to stand in line. So yeah, I really ain't trying to do all that standing in line. But now we're starting to see what happens when you stand in line. I don't know who's standing in front of me. I don't know who's standing behind me. And if it's on site and y'all got a call that they're here and they're by me in line, I could be killed. That's what's happening. First of all, I'm not going to be standing in line. And I mean that. So if I come to your venue and you got a line, I'm probably going to walk to the back door or to the side door. Or I'm going to text your DJ, somebody. But that's a privilege that I have. Everybody doesn't have that. So you start thinking about venues and, like you said, outside. Why are you holding the line? It's those type things. Don't hold the line. If it's to capacity, y'all need to go wait in the car. I don't know. But like just having those type conversations when they put you out. Not only do I put you out, but I escort you or call the police. I don't know what all of that needs to look like, but those are the different things that we should start having conversations about. If it's on site, any of us can be hit. Anybody, any of us can be hit. Okay. Y'all understand the idea, right? It's somebody that I want to fight on site, and I've been standing on that for years. I still haven't seen them.
Right.
But I'm not going to fight everybody. I'm not going to just,
Absolutely.
you know what I mean? I'm not going to take it out on everybody because I have a little more sense than that. It's still on site, though.
Yeah.
I mean it.
Yeah.
Okay. Eddie, what you want to say?
So for me, we have to go back to parenting, but zooming in more on it onto the trauma. Because from my vantage point, the effectiveness of your parenting is going to be limited by how much trauma you have not addressed.
And yourself as the parent?
As the parent,
yeah.
Yes. As
yeah,
the parent.
For sure.
Because if you don't have good problem resolution skills and your child is seeing you going off on all your friends, cutting friends off their whole childhood, seeing you get into it with the other parent, what do you think their problem resolution is going to look like, even if they are out here thugging? I mean, there are thugs out here who came from families that'll have a conversation before drama, but what's the difference between those and the ones who is like, it's on site, we going to chop up the block if we see somebody? Like, parents need to be taking care of the issues that they have. Like, it's a whole bunch of things that kids learn from you passively by just existing around you. Like, we have to learn how to encourage intentional parenting. And even if you have raised your kids and your kids are out of the house, it ain't too late. Because as long as you live in community, the skills that you get from working on yourself can always be something that you help somebody engage with if they're not at the stage or phase in their life where they can go deal with those things. Most of us got mama and daddy trauma. Most of us got attachment issues. Most of us don't have a problem resolution skills, especially in the Black community. Because if y'all got elders like I got, they weren't finna go sit down and talk to no white man in no room. You know? Hence
the reason we're in the field that we're in.
The reason
now.
that we got into this.
Yeah.
The reason I got into this because what I wish a pastor early in life would have told my mama, which is why I value being in the vicinity of Pastor Taylor in the church, is I wish somebody would at some point said, this is beyond me. You need to talk to a therapist and you need to get your boys in therapy. So for me, I got to this work to be the therapist that me and my brother would have needed when we were kids. So from 2010 to right before the pandemic, I was driving to Silicago, Vincent, wherever, Inslee, wherever boys were that needed a male to give them insight. I'm in their house with their drug dealing daddies in there, having conversations with them about what they need to be doing.
Absolutely. And that's what it takes. And we thank you for that approach. You can't be scared you cannot be scared doing this work. And I mean that on every level of the work. You cannot be fearful and do the work, whatever the work is that you do. Yeah. What we're not going to do, we're not going to go anywhere. We're going to take a quick break. Top of the hour, I'm going to keep the mics hot so y'all don't say no bad words, okay? Don't talk about nobody. We're going to keep the mics hot.
I see the paper.
Okay? don't say them words. And we'll be right back.
Yeah. On behalf of the Danny Project, that is funny. That's right. Yeah, I was going to say about 5 of them. That's funny. Yeah. If Clint Baber sit right here, make that bigger because he prone to say all of those 4 times.
On the air notes, it's $10,000 per thing. When I was in school, they was $10,000 per offense. They make more than that now.
What?
$10,000.
That's crazy. That's wild.
Don't say that.
And the V stands for variety. We back, but we better, baby. We on the war tour, ladies. We got the plan. Going each and every place with a mic in our hand. East side, west side, up top, south side. We on the war tour, ladies. We got the plan. Going each and every place with a mic in our hand. Hey, this is exactly what the city been missing. Let's get them jumping in transit. Thinking and reminiscing. I'm hoping you comprehend it. This is vital. And later, push your hope. You ain't gon' find another like a float. The gon' keep the conversation vital. Hold up. You can't deny it. No, sir. I know, man. I'm just like throwing rocks at the train. We ain't gon' never slow down before it's set. Anytime me and we put it down, spread love. We got enough to go round. It's politics as usual way out here in the city. Let's talk about what matter, but still keep it clear. Tell them how the people feel it. Exercise your First Amendment. Freedom to speak your mind regardless of religion. Your opinion is your opinion. I ain't arguing with you. But maybe I am. I'm more winning, number one in the hand. I switch it up. The watch will work when I get this. She picks it up and she gon' drop a couple jewels. Listen up. We on the war tour, ladies. We got the plan. Going each and every place with a mic in our hands. We on the war tour, ladies. We got the plan. Going each and every place with a mic in our hands.
What if the village is corrupt? It takes a village.
Inslee. What up? What up? What up? What up? What up? Second hour of the show right here on B94.9 WATV. I am Lady Woo. Got my gentleman with me. I love rocking with the guys. Like, it's just something different about the energy. And Kim, that was your last statement. Our men are needed. Absolutely. She also asked, have you all seen the YouTube channels like Alabama Drill and those type channels? Have y'all seen those?
Mm-hmm.
No, because you're in the school, so you're with the teens who have access. And my daughter be trying to trip on what she want to show me, and then I go show her. How you know that?
Birmingham War.
Girl, because I know. Because I know.
They give pieces of the story. They give pieces of the story. I encourage everyone to go watch because a lot of what most people think is just sporadic. Nah, all targets.
Yeah, for the police to be able to say we feel like the one that was targeted was killed. Paid. Yeah, like and that it was paid. Like these are different pieces that they have information on. They are gathering information. So yeah, if you're just tuning in, we have gone from the good, the bad, and now the ugly of the world that we live in right here in Birmingham, Alabama. We talked to Attorney Emery Anthony with the Jefferson County Progressive Democratic Council, talking about just the importance of voting. Gave you some important deadlines. The last day to register to vote is October 21st. So hurry up and do that. Last day to apply for an absentee ballot by mail is October 29th. If you want to vote absentee and you're 65, you can just do that because you're 65. That's a privilege. You hear me? I'm trying to be 65 so I can just do as I shall and what I want. So if you are that age, you don't have to wait until November the 5th. You can go ahead and do that now. And he said that you do have to have a reason. Others of us, like either you'll be out of town, you're having a procedure done or something like that, so you can go ahead and vote absentee. Then we started talking about the most recent mass shooting in Birmingham, Alabama, that has the whole world talking about Birmingham again. And I referenced some other shootings that have happened in the most recent past. Thursday night was one. It was at a venue downtown. Dee Brown lost her life at 604 Lounge Thursday night. And then over at Hush last night, there was a mass shooting. Over 100 rounds. Now, a clip typically be like 12.
12, 15.
Right? 100?
On the rifle, it's going to be 30.
Okay. And you use a rifle for like hunting, right?
Yeah. Well, and the rifles they're using are not accurate. They're not intended for,
close range beef. Like, no. Ooh, so this is what we're seeing. This is what we're hearing. This is why people are staying at home and afraid to leave their homes. I don't go nowhere. I just go to work and church and go back home. That's it. I shop online. I order my groceries. I order my medicine. They order everything because of what's happening in the streets. I don't blame them. It's scary. It could be scary for you in these streets. And we left the last hour asking, what is the issue? Like the overall umbrella issue. What is the issue? And I jotted down earlier the culture, the climate, and then the consequences. How much of what's happening is political? How much of this is political? Remember they were talking about like how drugs used to come in. You know what I'm saying? They come in through here and they go out through there, and then the guns the same way. Like we drop these guns off in the hood somewhere. Like everybody got a plug somewhere, and it's politically driven. Ooh, and then it just kind of trickles down. It's a trickle down effect.
I think the social dialogue about guns have glamorized guns so much to a thing that we all should have carried in our pockets, even to Alabama, where you don't have to have a license anymore to carry it around. Like the glamorization of that being the solution to problems, because look around the country, you got these situations where people are pulling up in driveways and they just shooting through the window, or somebody is going up to a door asking for help and they shooting right there through the door, or without any conversation, or some kids pulled up to take some pictures from prom on private property.
Yeah,
he just shot straight into the window. Like this idea that we have been scared into needing to protect ourselves using guns to the degree that conversations and dialogue are no longer something that people are willing to have to resolve conflict or to see what's going on. And it's like, is that fear or is that hypervigilance? Both of them are problematic, but there's two different solutions to the problem.
Right.
The rhetoric of how important guns are, we can't tell the world through politics that no, everybody got to have a gun. And then we tell these 15 and 16-year-olds that's in the middle of the hood that they can't have guns. They're not going to not have guns. They're going to do the thing that society has said protects us from these situations.
Absolutely. All the way from the top down to the bottom. You've had 2 alleged assassination attempts on a former president. Why are you smiling? Everybody's smiling about that. And it's not smiling because we, wish evil, but no, it's smiling because what, sir? But assassination attempts on the former president, one time, both times, really weird situations that were set up. But then it trickles down from that all the way down to Avenue E in Inslee, or wherever, in Bessemer, wherever. And the conversations are very much different. So when it is political, when it's the former president, the conversation is different. We're talking about Second Amendment rights. We're talking about the importance of funding and having the best in Secret Service, and who else up there doing that? Them, yeah. The conversation is different.
Yeah, it is. Back in the 90s, and I know a lot of people, crime, but I lived it. 96, graduate of Inslee High School. From 89 to 96, 7, crime was at its highest here in the city, right? Until like the last 2 years, crime has reached that point. So when you look at crime in the total picture and in the vacuum, there were things going on in the 90s that made crime so high. We can talk about them because they're the same things that are happening again in our communities now in 2024 that have showed up again. But there is one thing that is consistent in the change: policy. And the policy in the 90s to target drugs, you get time, and to target guns, they banned them. If you got caught with them, it was time. That's the only thing that some of our people understand is the time. And so when they lifted those bans, then the crime started going back up. See, it's one thing if he has a pistol or a clip, he's got 15 instead of 100 shots, right? You empty a whole clip. But if you got a pistol, revolver, you shooting a couple of people,
maybe
mass people. It's a different. They have no training, they have no skills, and so when you just giving people guns, you're giving them a license to kill. We're not going to drag the music piece to this, right?
Okay.
Because it's glorified, like you said, it's glorified. But it's also one thing that the hood has that the suburb don't, and that's the element of survivor.
So okay, because
I gotta
they
survive,
they
bro.
love the same music.
If I go to Jo and I walk down the street,
yeah,
I'm trying to get home. So yeah, I'm gonna have some on me
okay.
that's gonna protect me to get home.
So the reality of the culture. So like I said, the culture, the climate, and then the consequences. So the culture is that of the customs of the people. It's the customs of a people, be it education, be it the arts, what we like, where we eat, what we eat, how we talk, what we wear. That's our culture. Then the climate is what it feels like where we are. It's hot around here, like literally, not temperature wise, but what does the energy feel like in a place? That's the climate. And the climate it's not friendly, it's not happy, it's not joyous, it's not what's up, my brother, what's up, my sister, can I get the door for you? Can I? When the last time have you heard that? Probably at church today. Was that today? Yeah, we were at church today. Maybe. So that's the climate. And then the consequences. There are there any? Am I really going to be impacted by the consequences that have been told to me?
What we learned in, if any of y'all ever watched Scared Straight, where they took those young kids to jail, those kids have this invincibility complex. That system did not work. That did not work. Like fear mongering in the prisons does not work. The data, following up all of those things, all the kids still did all the stuff that they probably would have did anyway. You know, it looks good aesthetically to believe that taking a young kid to the jail to say this is what'll happen, but those kids don't believe it's gonna happen to them. They don't believe nothing gonna happen to them. When they sneak out your house, they don't believe they're gonna get caught by you.
Right.
So what make you think that they're gonna get caught shooting somebody when so many people be getting away with it? You know, so I think another big part of it is like, I was just going back along with that, the rhetoric of society. If we whittled society down to 50 people and we had one gun and one person was wilding with the gun, would it make more sense to take the gun away from him or give everybody a gun?
Good point.
And it's like we come up with the idea of everybody should have a gun, you know, but if you replace guns with grenades, then people gonna be blowing up all over the place. And it's the same situation with the guns. And that goes along with that rhetoric. Now, at the point that we have the society we have, my rhetoric sound like take the guns away, but that's not the case.
Right.
Right. But
because we're in it.
Exactly. But we can't be so loose with the conversation about how important solving problems with guns are. I mean, having guns is one thing, but guns being the be all end all to solving problems is another. So I'm at the detention center working with these boys who all of them carrying guns at 12 and 13 years old. And I'm asking them, I'm telling them that gun problems have gun solutions. If you don't have a gun, you got to solve the problem in a way that preserves your life, not in a way that takes life away. So, and I'm just working with them on, I'm not saying not to carry a gun if you're in a dangerous environment. I'm saying, how can you structure your life to where you can live in a place in which you don't have to carry a gun?
So look, thank you for all of that. You're talking about the kids at the detention center, and I'm talking about mine at the Dana Project. So I had them to create the world that you want to live in, create the world that you want to see, right? Because we know that half of the issue is that you aren't exposed, you haven't seen, and this is what you know and what you think you have to have. So we get the, like a vision board. This was the activity. Create the world that you want to see, 2 different groups. And I'm talking about healthy food, schools, transportation, all these different things come to mind for me. And I kind of coached them a little bit, but then there was somebody with like a Uzi on it. And I'm like, well, why you need that? So we got stuck on that part. Why do you need that? When you create the world that you want to see, there should be no conflict. Right. But I'm saying just for protection, you ain't gonna really have to protect yourself because you're creating a perfect world almost. Right. Like God is giving you I'm giving you you can do it. It's clean slate. Create the world that you want to see. What would you want to live in? Man, Soooooo, come on now. We need some guns. You don't. You're creating the world. Like I said it like 1,000 times. You are creating the world that you want to see, not the one that we currently live in. You don't have to have these things. These things are put in place for other negative. You can create the world you want to see, baby.
I think that's a problem. Even his inability to imagine anything different from what he sees right now. And he expressed that in a class, but other people expressing it in their whole life, that even though they see an opportunity, you telling me that I can live better, and you telling me, but all I see is what I see. And that starts creating this behavior, this mindset. And I think several things do that. Exposing one great thing is just exposing our students or our young men and women to environments outside of what they've seen. We took some kids. This was years ago. Someone went out of state for something, and I used to mentor boys. Actually, when I was like in my early 20s, I'm still mentor now.
Mm-hmm.
But about 10 of these kids had never been out of the city of Birmingham.
Mm-hmm.
They had never been out of it, and so like trips like that. Like shout out to Jermaine Johnson and C4 Mentor and what they do for young men, taking them across the country. Because you need to see something to believe something.
Absolutely.
Something different is possible. So if I can say this, I think one of the things I think is critical is for everybody to do their part, and not just, even as we talked about, every institution doing their part. If every individual would just do your part, all I can do is talk to the two dudes on my block. I can't start a 501c3, I can't start a mentorship program, but there's two dudes on my block that I'm concerned about. I'm going to invite them to my house once a week, sit down, talk to them, and rap taste about real life. If that happens at every level, then it saturates our community, saturates these environments, and we're not just waiting on a church or a mayor or the government or Constitution to fix it. We fix our own thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's good, brother.
Mhm.
I as you were talking, I was thinking about it. And as you were talking, I was thinking about a scripture that's very familiar. Jesus is healing a blind guy, and he actually has to touch him twice in the eyes for him to
Mhm.
see clearly.
Okay.
He went from blind
To blurry.
to blurred
Okay.
to seeing.
Okay.
But while blurred, right, he says, "What do you see now?"
Men like trees walking.
Men like trees walking.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so again, loss of hope.
Sure.
Right? It goes back to the hope. I can't see a world that looks like the one I want to live in because I can't even hope it. I can't
Right.
see it. I can't experience that. Everything I know is quick money, fast food. Everything is so right now. I can't plan tomorrow. I might not make it
Oh, I hear
tomorrow.
that every day.
So yeah. So to be able to give people vision, right?
Mhm.
To be able to give people visions, they got to see something to see something, right? I got to stand on the mount so I can see over. It may be wilderness, but I see trees.
Let me tie something else in that we talked about last week. When you talk about seeing something, imagination. So these young people they didn't even have they weren't even afforded the opportunity to imagine, which comes from what? Books, education, storytelling, creative play. So those are things that I'm recognizing now that a lot of our young people have not even been exposed to. And it goes back to what you said. And when I took storybooks, like kid storybooks, like principles and foundational skills, listening, leading, when to be quiet, like children's books. I took them to my group of young adults. And the fascination and the attention that I was able to get from reading these stories as if I were reading to children was very moving, very impactful, but it said a whole lot because of course we're doing mental health work. We're doing behavioral health work. And I asked the question, when was the last time somebody read to you or the last time you read a book? A lot of them read The Diary of a Wimpy Black Kid. Why a Wimpy Black Kid? Why I had to put black in there?
I don't know.
Why am I being racial? Racial. Everything's not colored. Woo. But yeah, they said that, but then before that, my Dukes didn't have time to read no bedtime story. I said, well, for real. Nope. So that was one thing. And then that was a white people's thing. Black folk don't read bedtime stories.
Yeah.
Did she not have time?
Exactly.
Or did she just not do it?
Well, the issue was
I made an excuse for my dude. She ain't have time.
read to her when she was a kid. So it's just propagating culture that you're going to train your sons and daughters in the culture that you're familiar with.
In the culture. So that goes back to all of these unresolved issues that end up being somebody got to get out and get it. So what separates us? So now we're talking about the issues, right? What is the issue? Is the issue education? Limited education?
It could bring about. I'm gonna go back to a policy though. Y'all might can swing on this.
Okay.
Who started cutting early childhood programs? Because the pushback in the 90s helped us get out of that. Man, people can read, they can see.
And the Black Panther said we need Head Start and
what was the that's it. And so it's a reason they cut it. Because who benefits greatly from it?
Okay.
Then how are we introducing this knowledge to the parents, right? To the mamas. Because when I have conversations with mamas about, again, my role is when kids get removed from the family through DHR, I go work with the parent and I try to help them learn the skills that it takes. So I ask them, what have your childhood been like? What is your trauma? What are your relationship with your family like? Who do you get into it with in front of your kids? What behaviors do you see your children having? How many times do you sit on the bed corner and have a conversation with your child about your life, about social events, about stuff? Sure. When are you doing that? And once they began doing that, it starts to change, because I think a really big part of it is that these kids, they don't feel seen. And if they are not seen at home, they are going to be seeking the gaze of something, even if it's the gaze of a news article, because they just sprayed up the block.
Yeah, I want to be seen, I want to be heard, but then too, I this is what I have seen. So it's still about vision. Caller, you're in with the show. What's your question, comment, thoughts, or feelings?
How you doing? First of all, Lady Wu and your panel.
Great. How are you?
I'm doing well. Somebody else got something to say. You gonna say it? Hey. Anyway, I guess he went quiet on me. But it's a couple things. Okay. There's a couple things that you all have said. My brother graduated in '96, like he said. I graduated in '89, and my mother, my grandmother raised me. My brother will tell you, my grandmother was so hard on me. He thought that my grandmother didn't like me, but she knew she was being hard because God had led her to be hard on me, because she knew I had a taste for that street life. So my mother came to me and asked me, "Hey, stick around," because I was going to the service. I wanted to get as far away from Alabama as possible. Stick around. You have brothers. Help raise your brothers up. So I did that. I stuck around for my brothers. And I'm glad I did it, because it was extremely hard for them, because it was dangerous during those times. Matter of fact, it was a situation that got into at Escape Haven. He'll probably tell you about it. But the issue is that we have to start investing in our children from the parent and teaching. Okay, you said about reading to your children. My mother, the Bible said, faith come by hearing and hearing of the word of God. Right. The first time I heard of the word of God was in my house.
Right.
But if you don't have the word of God coming out of your house, then you have an empty vessels going down the streets. So them empty vessels, which is lack of hope or cloud, don't have no hope. Then they'll do anything out there in the streets, because they have no God in them while they out there. Okay. It's not about what they've done to take God out of the school. We have taken God out of our lives. We did that willingly. Church enrollment is down. You talking about, you ask them, what have they seen, or what have they been somewhere? Ask them the last time they've been to church. We come up with every excuse not to go. Every excuse not to go. But on top of that, like I said, I had a praying mother. I had a praying grandmother. Everybody in that neighborhood, she laid hands, or she talked, she prayed over them. She prayed my daddy out of drugs. She prayed my sister out of drugs. She was a praying woman. It was nothing for me to go home and see my grandmother peeling, cutting greens or peeling peas, praying, crying over her family.
All right. Well, thank you so much for that comment and for that call. So I do hear that theme of the generation. Like, we talk about generational cycles, but we don't talk about the generational things that are just good. The generational things that are just good. I don't know when the last time I saw anybody grandma cutting up nothing. Like, what my grandma that did that has been going on for several years, and that's the last one that I saw cutting up green or anything for real.
And he makes some good points, because if you think about it, all of us, we have seen something that helped us to get to this point. Even if we have to overcome some stuff, we still saw some stuff that gave us a push to see it through, keep going. What happens if you don't have none of that?
Right.
And if everything in your world is negative, everything is black. You don't even care about living no more. So of course you don't care about life, and you don't care about nobody else's life. And so, it's an element, like you said, it's an element about the house, the home. The kitchen table is missing. And those are some things, some standards that have been taken outside of our homes. But again, it goes back to the spiritual. I believe everything is birthed from there.
Okay.
Our spiritual decline is starting to show up in these streets.
And then Calandra says it goes back to hopelessness. So everybody is still like, we're circling back around to everything that we've already said. So being unable to define the issue. Like there are so many issues. But I think that, this tonight's show aligns. Pastor Doug asked me about coming in tonight. Like, should we reschedule? No, not at all, because all of this goes together. Like, this is a part of the work. I think my whole life is wrapped up collectively the way that it should be in both veins, on the radio, in the classroom, in the therapy sessions. Like this, that's how my life is wrapped. And it all makes sense. So like you don't get one without the other. I tell people, so you're gonna come host and you're gonna sing too. I'm gonna do all that. I'm gonna do all of that because you get all of that when you get me. So I'm giving you all of that. So it's no way to disconnect from the work that we do or the life that we live. Like we're in the world, we in the streets. So you got to, you got to always be ready to do whatever it is that you do in any of these settings. So I think the church has like the bigger role, and because the church has minimized so much, maybe that's why there's so much evil.
Yeah, I think one of the things that when you come back to the whole dynamic of church, and as you said, I believe everything starts with our spiritual well-being. That's my personal conviction, because that's the first solution for human depravity.
We are spirits having a human experience.
Exactly. And so I think part of what happens is the message that should happen in church is, and I may get in trouble, is the goal of you coming is not just to get you to heaven. The goal of your existence is not just to go see Jesus. If all Jesus want to do is get you saved so you can see him, you get saved and die the next day. Mm-hmm. The reason why we're here is for somebody else. Everything about Christianity is outward focused first. Even when you start talking about the whole fivefold ministry, which is so dope, talks about he gave us apostles, prophets, evangelists, pastors, and teachers, but then he says for the perfecting of the saints, for the work of the ministry. So the goal of leadership is to mature individuals so they can do the work that we talk about on Sunday. And that's what should be happening, launching people, empowering people, even stuff like I encourage people get into politics or get into leadership, because the scripture says when the righteous and authority, the people rejoice. So you should be a business owner. You should move toward being a landlord. You should move toward, being an authority, because people get the benefit of having godly leadership and godly influences.
Wow.
All is good.
Wow.
So those are the type things that you have to hear and people have to be exposed to. But what if I don't go to church? I don't go to church.
Oh, it ain't a church thing. It's a responsibility thing. Like we were talking about the synagogue earlier, what I think is really dope. I had the opportunity to spend 10 days in Israel in 21, I think, and blew my mind. I grew up thinking the synagogue was church.
Okay.
And it's not. The synagogue is at the gate of the city where merchants assemble. And so a synagogue could be half the size of this room. And it's where people would sit and debate, and they would discuss spiritual matters, biblical matters, the Torah at that time, but it didn't happen in church. As a matter of fact, the church, the church, the capital C church, did not expand because of church services. It expanded with the diaspora. After Jesus resurrected and Paul is killing Christians, they all began to run for their lives. On the way, while they were running, they preached the gospel on the way. So most of the ministry was happening at Wales, was happening, at in the marketplace. And so they don't have to come to church to get this. What should happen is the message of hope, the responsibility and care for other men and women should happen at our jobs, at the gas station. It should propagate from there.
Okay.
That's good.
Because I'm telling you who I see outside. And my computer died. The charger that I have ain't working. So that's why you don't see me. But I'm gonna tell you who I see.
Mhm.
They be outside.
Uh-oh.
Them Jehovah's Witnesses be outside.
Okay.
Oh, they be outside.
Still the church though.
Okay. And then them Hebrew Israelites, they be fussing.
Yeah.
They go hard,
Mhm.
but they be outside.
Be outside, right?
They do.
And
so
that's who I see outside.
let me go back to him. You're right, outside. Also, not only did they do it on the way, but when they did meet, they was at the crib. First century churches were house churches,
Okay.
Absolutely.
right? Small groups,
Oh, Acts 2.
ministry.
So we need small
Ministry,
groups.
yeah, ministry was birthed in small groups. And so as you know, to employ what he was saying, if you have the real estate purpose, your ministry, your house. You have the financial get out of debt. That's your ministry. That's your house.
Mm-hmm.
Because people understand issues, and those issues become a drawing card to meet them where they are to experience salvation.
Okay.
Because once people get saved, they experience a transformation, right? And that transformation plays out. You go to work, you take care of family. These things begin to change what you see about life,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Gotcha.
They don't get that.
Right.
So that's what I'm saying. Why is it not being got?
Because their parents, we said, let me go and be honest. We said, oh, I ain't gonna make my kid go to church.
Mhm.
Is that
We
what it is?
started taking that fabric down. I'm blaming my generation.
But if it's not in church, and you know, like the comment right here, you shouldn't have to go to church to see Jesus. You see God through us. We might be the only Jesus
Absolutely.
some people see.
I agree. But
Absolutely.
what you learn about him is it should start where? It's two places.
Should happen at home.
It should happen at the home.
On a pivot, I just need to say this is such a dope vibe that we can be talking about the Bible with Mobb Deep Shook Ones playing in the background. I just, my life just went to another level.
Amen. Look, because I keep the organ too, but I ain't really want to go there tonight. I like the fact that you acknowledged and knew what that was.
That's right. Oh, yeah.
So I rock with you. Eddie, you leaning in.
Yeah.
What you got?
It's a lot. I think at this stage in the game, I think that so the Brother Let's Talk, I collaborate with that nonprofit where we go to the barbershops and we arm the barbershops with information because they are cutting the hair of the dude that's going to do the next shooting.
Right.
And so they might not be talking about the stuff they do for the barbers to identify who those guys might be. But I think a place the church can do is identify mothers and grandmothers and aunts who feel like they have sons and grandsons and nephews who are at risk of these kind of behaviors and identify what kind of parenting engagements they can start having with their kids that might start shifting that because them boys ain't gonna listen to nobody outside their family when they at that level. And so how do we start having conversations with the family of boys who they feel like might be at risk? And not just that, the salons, it's places where women are that can identify that. Another piece that a lot of people ain't gonna like, when we talk about them boys that can't conceptualize building a world, is because this all they done seen their uncles and their stepdaddies and their daddies doing. So who is seeing their brothers, they sons doing all of this stuff in the community and saying, this is the example you set for your son, and do those men listen? And if they don't listen, what do we do about those men that are participating in that? They go back to what you were saying, where it's like, that's your family. Like, you ain't about to call the people on your family. Or should you call the people on your family?
You should call the people on your family.
So yeah, like, because what I don't want, I would. Okay, so would you rather call the people on your family, or would you rather get a phone call about your family?
Right.
So I'm more inclined to want to say, baby, look, you got the block real hot around here. These folks came to my door looking for you. I don't want to be doing that. I don't want to be on the front of somebody's album making the next drop because you out here hot.
And I know that's a stretch, right? But how do you then protect your family who is doing that and the child's being able to perceive it? So if you're going to protect the people in your life who doing that stuff, how do you keep that child from experiencing that? There's hard decisions all the way around.
Yeah, you forfeit them that right to a childlike life. You have forfeited that. So like, you remember there was a shooting where on site, we should have called your kids in there.
Mm-hmm.
and the children survived, and then I think a child died later on. So you have situations like that where no, your lifestyle is everybody that's living around you's lifestyle for real, like especially your own children. So I don't know what that, what that, I don't know why that part we can't get through to people, to the people that are committing these crimes and involved in these type lifestyles. Like there are some things that you may do that may put your children in harm's way. I think all of us have done something. Like if I'm driving 80, I'm putting my child's life in danger as a parent. But if I'm going to an argument or going to show out on somebody with my child in the car, I'm putting my child's life in danger. So it's levels to it, but I don't know that our young parents are even thinking about any of that. Like, let me go drop y'all off somewhere first.
Well, I've been keeping up with the YSL trials, and I don't know if any of y'all been in that, but it's a character on there named Woody.
That's who I watch.
He just all over social media everywhere. He told a story about how he was just out with his daughter, young daughter, who he got pulled up on by some people. And he put his daughter behind his back and he, ready to shoot. And it's like, okay, maybe you were on a regular day with your daughter, didn't expect for nothing to go down. But at what point does somebody acknowledge, listen, I understand that you believe that you could be out with our child, but everything that you have going on in your life does not justify allowing your child to be out there with you. So again, I'm not saying protect. Again, if you're going to be the kind of person that protect this adult that's making bad decisions from getting in trouble because you don't want to call the police, then I do think you have a responsibility to protect that child for being in the vicinity of a person that might create harm for them. That needs to look like something. No, we need to go out of state when if we gonna hang out with the child, we got to go to another state. Like if your time with our child you got to get an Airbnb in Georgia and spend that time with that child there. Yeah, but you can't spend time with your child in Birmingham.
You can't come over here.
Yeah, you got to be somewhere where your child can experience a neutral environment where they could just be with the best parts of you and not be out here with a paranoid version of you who got ops who is always ready to light up the block yourself while your kids is there. I'm just saying there's hard decisions all the way around.
Absolutely.
That got to be made by some family at some point.
Let's check the comments. Let's check the comments right quick. My pastor said today that what we are experiencing today is the result of decisions we made, taking prayer out of homes and schools, not wanting anyone to chasten your children, etc. So now we're just kind of reaping the negative benefits of that. And then she came back and said, my son had a warrant. The police came to my house looking for him. I asked the police to give me 1 hour and I will bring him to you. That's exactly what I did with no regrets. And it wasn't a major crime. But you're not going to have the police at my door. And I showed him. So it is that type of parenting. Like, hey, I don't know what you're involved in. And then I think a lot of times we do. Like, had a tough conversation. Babe, look, the lifestyle is a choice. So that's the first thing. Man, I had to get it. I had to get it how I got it. I hit it every day. I had to get it. Okay. But I had to get it. And I wanted to help my parents get it. I didn't want to be a burden. So I got a job. Man, man. You don't make the money we need to make. You ain't making that type of money at these jobs. These folks don't want to pay you, blah, 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 blah.
I think one thing is, even on Sandy Brown's comment, I think just big shout out to every parent who is putting in the work to raise responsible men and women, and granted, we seeing a lot of crime and a lot of dumb stuff, but there's a whole lot of parents that's digging and grinding and striving and teaching their kids and reading bedtime stories and showing up at schools and being at PTA. And I just think that's a big shout out because everybody ain't doing that. And we need to celebrate them. I think it's a big deal.
It is a big deal because there are so many days where I end up just drained. Don't call me. I'm not answering. Don't want to see you. Don't look at me because I've just heard the most depressing things all day long. And I'm like, where's the hope? What, Jesus, show me a sign. Give me something. And then a dog will walk up and be like, give me that. Because the level of negativity that we hear from the news to daily work and just driving around the city, like what you see, the way things look, will have you around here really feeling like tomorrow is the last day.
Yeah.
You know, so I appreciate that shout out.
Let me also add that, like, the best parent that you can possibly be does not mean that it can overwrite all of the external other environmental factors. So if you've done the best job that you can do and you know that it's a good job, then you don't have to hold yourself hostage by the outcome of your child.
Okay. I did everything I was supposed to do. I did my part.
Yeah. And that's subjective, you know, and there's always some things that we could do better. Don't get me wrong. Everybody need to go to therapy to see what I've been tripping about. And a lot of it be based on that trauma. But like sometimes you have done the good job, but like there is a group of kids that like your brother said has a taste for the streets. It's just they can come from a really good home. Y'all know how many kids in Calera thugging? In Calera thugging. And it's like I work with these boys and I'm like, why are you doing this over here? Like your mama brought you over here so that this don't have to be the world that you live in, but like they desire it. Like it's something about it that calls them to it, you know, and those kids just exist.
The streets keep calling me. Yeah, it's the whole thing.
The question is, how do we minimize those kids, and how do we, like I said, there's reasonable thugs, yeah, but the unreasonable thugs is going and chopping up in the middle of an entertainment district. So how do we tell the difference between these?
I'm gonna say this. You're going to barbershops. You are in a pulpit. You're in a pulpit in a classroom. You're doing real estate. Like we're doing all these different things, being who we are, being our authentic selves. And I don't know how to be anybody else, and it really disturbs me when people that have the power to lead and to be examples want to be somebody else. No, be you. Be in your truth. Stop lying about what your path was to get what you got, and you know, you don't have bad days. Every time you jump on social media, you smiling and posing. That's not real life.
Right.
Be real. If you're real, man, like the respect and the love that you get just being who you are, being genuine about who you are and what your situations are. Young people, that's what they want to see. That's what they need to see. So that I just come as me. Every day I come as me. I talk how I talk. I walk how I walk. I vibe how I vibe. They vibe with me. I can tell them about places that they know that they go, that I go. Be you. So that's the first thing for people that have positions and have a little power, have a little, a little motion. Be you.
Mm-hmm.
Stop faking.
I want to go back to an element because you brought an interesting point. The taste for it, right? They have a desire.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of it still goes back to our music, our videos, our TV shows, the programming, right? Just an element for, bear with me for a minute. So if I see and hear it consistently, I try to be what I see and hear, right? I try to create that reality, right?
Mm-hmm.
You and I are probably close to the same age.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all probably a little bit behind me.
NWA, all that stuff. Yeah.
Okay. I didn't go out to try to be NWA.
Right.
Right. So there was something within me that said, okay, that was a movie. That was a video. That was rap. Right. They think
like it was somebody's
real,
life, but
right?
it's not my life.
A lot of these kids think it's real, and that quick money and fast money and fame, and that it's overnight. They didn't hear the story of how T.I. got to where he was. They didn't follow Puff when he had the fail attempts. I might probably shouldn't have said that one.
Yeah, definitely use somebody else because he's spelling today.
Sorry.
Put that on the paper.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Put that on the paper.
Ooh.
But everybody had a story. They didn't see Jay-Z first CD. You know what I'm saying? So, the instant part that they get from the videos, it's just constant. And so what if those pieces are going to a new message? Right?
I think
the common message, what if that happens? What does our community look like?
So what does that sound like? What does that music sound like? What do those move? Right.
Yeah, so the executives want a certain, the executives want a certain kind of music. Yeah. And they want the girl to dress a certain kind of way.
Absolutely.
Your CD ain't coming out right now. So I'm interested, Ready Edit, how do you see that as a piece to this puzzle?
I think it's a perfect storm of things that have to happen because I mean, I had this conversation with my homies all the time. We all listen to No Limit. and No Limit wasn't nothing but murder, murder, kill, kill. That's all it was, you know. And so I think that there is a level of IQ in a person.
Absolutely. So education and intellect. Absolutely.
Well,
We go back to that every time.
Yeah, well, we talking about like 70 or 75 is where a person is traditionally classified in the education system as intellectually disabled. ID. There's a lot of people with 76 out here processing life. I'm sorry. I hate to say it like that. Yeah. Ableism. I hate to say it like that. But take that IQ and then take that temperament. Mm-hmm. It's different being an easy child versus being a aggressive and crying and mad child. Right?
Imagine not understanding things, not being able to perceive things, and the anger that would bring about when somebody is like, Johnny had to act like that. Doesn't. Yeah. Now
let's look at that family that he growing up in. Yes. We got a family that's full of trauma, that's full of abuse. Ain't nobody recovered from their abuse. They all mad. They all angry at each other. Yeah, now this child is painting that picture of that world. And now in this whole embodied mesh of a world that he live in, if his parents keep him from listening to music that sound like No Limit or drill music until he 10, his brain is conditioned to believe that this is the solution to the problems. The violence is the solution to the problems. This is how these rappers got through all of this stuff and they got to this place. So it's like a perfect storm of a lot of stuff that have to come together for that message to embed in a child in a way that becomes his reality. On top of that, not being seen. So I don't feel seen by my family. I don't feel like I belong by my family. As soon as you go outside to the drug dealer on the corner that say, hey, what's up, little nappy head? Come on, hang with us. He is going to be loyal to them to a fault. And those men know it. They know that boy needs to be seen by somebody, and they're going to see him through manipulation and how much they can use him, and he is expendable to those men.
That's good.
On that side of the scope, and then on the other side of the scope, now I'm the one that my peers see. So now it's just a full circle of chaos. Caller, you're in with the show. What's your comment? I know it's not a question.
You know it's all good. I'm just enjoying the conversation at whole. But yeah, it goes back to this. This is what I want to talk about. Everything y'all saying is great. But what happens is the word that comes after most things that need to be learned is skill. Parenting, when I heard you talk about parenting is a skill. Communication is a skill.
Right.
And any skill you have to subject yourself to want to learn it, first of all. And not only want to learn, but realize that you're not that great at it. I always ask people like, are you a communicator? Are you a great? Yeah, I'm a good. No, you a good BSer, but you're not a great communicator. There's a difference. And so when you don't, it's a blind leading the blind, basically. And when you're starting younger, like you said, younger parents, if they're younger parents and their parents didn't really know how to parent and didn't subject themselves to parenting classes or understand how to communicate. So now you got two generations of the blind leading the blind. And where can you lead them? You cannot get anything out of something that is not made of. Whatever it's made out of is going to come out of it until somebody says, you know what? I don't want to be made of this no more. So then they have to have their own experience, their own life, eye-opening situation. But what y'all just said was key. The subliminal in the music, in the movies, in everything that's being fed. Because here it is. They know what it does to the mind. Have you ever eaten, just walked outside and seen a McDonald's billboard up and be hungry again? Because it's the perfect picture of lettuce, the perfect, you know what I'm saying? But you just ate. But it don't matter because subliminal, they have painted the perfect picture of what they know turns to you. So now, I asked the kids the other day, why would you need a money machine in your car? I've seen that in the video. He have no other reason except it look cool. But what type of job you got where you can't put your check in the bank? That you can't carry it on one card? You got to have $30,000 in your pocket wrapped up to lead it down your arm and talk to it, and it don't even talk back.
So Wayne,
I'm just asking. And so these are the questions. Even with the guns, it's like you got beef with one person, but you got 99 bullets. What are we going to do with the other 98? I'm just saying. They got to go somewhere. And so, you know, and I seen something the other day was even crazier. Like they're hanging their ARs off of keychains now. Big clips, just hanging them off a key like they're part of their outfit. Here's my car keys, here's my gun, it's on side, and best man win, whoever get to it first, and no matter who's sitting out here. So we got a lot to do. And those, like you said, those who do the work need to do it. But what they need to do, and I'm going to hang up after this one, is the ones who have the position and who have the ability, they do need to stop being fake. They need to stop saying it's about the kids when it's not about the kids and it's about the paycheck. Y'all finish our conversation because I'm listening.
All right. Yeah, man. Straight like that. For real. For real. For real. Oh, mm. First of all, hanging my gun around my neck is gonna have me with scoliosis worse than it is, because that's crazy.
I see it.
Just give me my no limit chain back, Eddie. My no limit chain got snatched off at Sloss Furnace at the haunted house one year. I was so mad.
It snatched the no
I had
limit?
a tank. Yes.
What? No.
It got snatched. It's at Sloss still. Every time I go, I be looking for
You
my
be looking for it?
Yes. Golly. Look,
Oh,
man. You so to that point, I had a whole no limit chain. Everything else that was, for the most, I had a bomber jacket. My brothers had bomber jackets. I'm gonna say this on the air. I remember one spring break, me and my little homegirl tried to sell weed one time. Her brother lost the pack and we found it. We gonna try to sell it. Didn't know to weigh it, didn't know nothing. Basically $5. Whatever. Lasted 10 minutes. It's entrepreneur.
Right,
It's an opportunity here.
Yeah.
Okay. All of that to say this. We make decisions.
Yes.
My parents, y'all know my fault. Like, you did what? And you went well. And you said, well, I did all that. I did all of that you heard and thought. And yes, I did it. My brother did even more than that. But these were decisions that we made.
Sure.
How do we know decisions to make to try something and get on out, but then the others don't? So I know Eddie said intellect. My mama's a social worker. My dad is a pastor.
Yeah.
My grandma's a teacher. My other grandma, she worked at home, but she was in the community.
Mm.
My granddad was a preacher. My other granddad worked on the railroad. Girl, what is you doing out here trying to say this fake? What is you doing? It was a decision.
Yeah.
Even the dudes I talked to, decisions.
Right.
My grandparents were teachers. My mama worked a lot.
Mhm.
Third shift. The most that I did was we gambled at my house every night for about 3 years.
See?
Soon as she leave to go from 10th grade on the football team, we just sat in there and played shot bones on the table for 3 years straight.
Decision?
And I think my mama knew. She just like covered her eyes and then walked out the door to work while we was in there.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't, we didn't leave out the house. We had no inclination for violence. Like we just wanted to be. But
Nah.
I mean, I had the luxury of growing up in an environment where there were shootings, but we knew it made sense that the shooting happened.
Like
I
you
grew
knew
up in
the
Lynette,
story.
Alabama. It was a very small boondocks town. We knew who was beefing. We knew who was struggling. It wasn't really no stray bullets in my hometown. The people who got hurt, we knew it was coming. That's that small town politics stuff.
Is it the same now? 2024, is it the same?
It's the same. I mean, it hadn't really been that much violence like that down there like that, but it's on the borderline of Georgia. So a lot of violence used to be Georgia versus Alabama. So it used to be, I got a 706 area code because of that, because of how close we are to Georgia.
Okay.
So it used to be that kind of thing. I haven't heard anything about it being that level of violent now, but I think that's like small town politics where it's like, it's much easier to implement policy as on a very local, small level to where everybody live 5 streets from each other. Like I could walk across my city in 20 minutes from Georgia to my high school. And that's so when you start getting into bigger cities, it becomes a different situation. But I had the luxury, and I have to talk to the boys about this. I had the luxury of growing up in an environment where I didn't feel like I had to carry a gun with me.
Mm-hmm.
And I know y'all don't have that luxury. So a part of this is educating me about what y'all experiences are. But my journey here is to tell y'all that there is a place that exists where you don't have to carry a gun. You can actually conceptualize a world where you don't have to live the life that you're living now. And I don't want you to have to have attempted murder charge and do 10 years for you to get out and realize through changing now that that's the case. But at 12 years old, they got about 13 more years before their brain fully develops. So they working off of that limitation.
So can we start talking about how you carry yourself as opposed to carrying a gun? Maybe that's something that men start talking to boys about, like, and women too, like how you carry yourself as opposed to having to carry a gun. Like I can choose to carry, that's a choice. Mm-hmm. But if I carry myself a certain way in certain places and around certain people, certain things I may not have to worry about. What about that?
I'm gonna bring the school piece here, the church piece here, the Dannon piece here, right? Mm-hmm. We are doing the work. We are telling them for 6 hours, 7 hours, but then they have to go back home to the same environment for 12, 15, 16 hours.
That's good.
And they have to come back. We do it again. They go back home. They're there longer and they're there more than they are with us. And I'm just saying, us in this room, what is it to make it a mass project? What is it to make it more? Because it is happening. You have mentor groups. It is, right? But y'all know they go, when they go home and you say, man, I just had to just talk to him. Or if I go back home to that environment is going to win 8 out of 10. Me, I grew up on both sides. My mom is an accountant by trade. My dad worked at U.S. Steel. But my dad, and this is the part of my story, my dad was probably one of the first street pharmacists in Fairfield that put Fairfield on the map. His nickname is Snow. And he's darker than me. Okay. But anyway, so my house has been shot up. I was in the front room when the house was shot up. Right? I've seen dark days. I've seen people get smacked that and that right in the living room. I've seen people breaking our house because they thought we had money. I've seen I got a bike and ain't nobody else on the street got this bike. And every time I get the bike, somebody come steal my bike. I've seen that side. I've seen the cooking. I've seen the whipping. Before Jesus the snowman.
And you've seen the mountaintop.
Okay. I made a choice.
Let me go back to my music.
I don't want to live like that. I don't want to have my kid having to jump in the room and cover him from bullets. Not once or twice, this is, and so it comes back to the person, but then it comes back to there was something in the house. Because although he was that way, I've seen that person pay bills. I've seen that person set out the whole picnic, the whole Easter egg hunt at Willie Mays Park when it was first built. I've seen, because even in that world, he was really not like that.
At the core,
at
right?
The core. His environment produced my environment, right? Poverty, barely making it. That produces a lot of what we see.
So is poverty the issue?
A little bit of sentiment behind that. My daddy was also a drug dealer. It's what got him locked up with a 99-year sentence, which he got out after 11. And when people in the Valley when they refer to Slim, I know what world that they was in with him, because that was his nickname. And
at least Slim is no.
Upon processing my experience with my dad on panels with men, if I could go back in time, I don't stop him from getting arrested. I don't. I let it happen because the only way I become who I am now is that he had to have those consequences. And that's hard to say and hard to acknowledge. But him going to jail was the best thing for the outcome of me and my brother's existence.
And possibly his.
Wow. Possibly his. Possibly his.
Wow, Eddie.
There's a word. So when you are your authentic self, you tell your true story, who you are, where you've been, what you know, people really like it gets the people going. This is real life, right? But we made decisions that put us in different places. I'm from Ansley. People are like, oh, you from Ansley? You a girl from me? I'm from Ansley. I am. And then we moved to the other side, and okay. So I made the decisions to go and to do and to learn more and to be around. You make the decisions. We have to teach our children to make a decision. Make a decision. You can decide to be a follower of Christ. You can decide to go to Alabama State University. You can decide to go to Rebirth. You can decide to go to Mama Rai. You can decide to not go nowhere. You can decide to bounce around. You can decide. That's the beauty of life. You have decisions that you can make. And I know that for the most part, a lot of our listeners are the parents of those who are making poor decisions. Parents, you can decide to reparent. You can start over. You can pick it up today. Baby, look, let's have a conversation. I want to take you to lunch. If they 20-something, hey, come over here tomorrow. Let's talk. Let's pick up where we left off or where I forgot or whatever. Right? So start today. Prayers and healing for our city and for all of the families and friends impacted by all of the crime and violence that we hear and see every day. Right now, this mass shooting is like in the front of everybody's thoughts. So definitely praying for our city in that way. Pastor Doug, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Brothers, thank you so much as usual. And for all of you who commented tonight, thank you. We'll be back next week. We may even do something in the middle of the week, depending on what happens, because we did not talk about the presidential election. We did not talk about it. So we shall. In the meantime, y'all be vital. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday night.
Dope, man.
That playlist is crazy. That playlist was crazy. The playlist.
Oh, it's dope. I done added some of it to mine.